Welcome to the Illuminati broadcast. I'm your host, David Moore. My hair looks kind of crazy, but it's not that crazy. Trust me, it's not. All right. I think my hair looks like a cocker spaniel. Let me show you my cool outfit I'm working on. So I got this shirt, and then I cut it up, and I added like this gold detailing to it. Next, I'm gonna add this like silver lace. Yeah, check it out. This pretty silver lace. It's gonna go on the collar. I have another lace that I'm gonna use as the ruffles, but can barely see it. But I kind of like that it's not too noticeable. Just kind of. You can't really see it on the camera because it's so bright. But yeah, and then I have like gold on the edge. Yeah. Um. Yeah, I look kind of bald. Sorry. I think it's because I had my head cap on all day. But yeah, whatever. I look beautiful. Doesn't matter. My haircut looks great. Okay, anyways, so we're gonna talk about Cool Tunes real quick because I have to wake up early tomorrow. So Cool Tunes. This was inspired Cool Tune and also inspired by Freyren. So now I have the matching set because Freyren wears something similar to this, like a white coat with gold trimmings. All right, I'm gonna go on Google Gemini on my phone so I don't have to look on the computer. So we're gonna talk about Cool Tunes. Um, so there's a cool tune called. Oh God, there's like dead people outside, people dying outside. Okay, Cool Tune Q. I'm like, does Cool Tune Q look Babylonian? Because I noticed it looks Babylonian. I wish actually I can show you right here on my phone. So this is Cool Tune Q. There you go. If you notice, she kind of has like this headdress on. I wonder if I can like maybe I need to lower the brightness. Let's see if that makes a difference. Yeah, it does. Okay, so if you notice, she has like this headdress on, and her ponytails kind of come out looking like they kind of like ox horns or bull horns, and then her dress is kind of like it has copper trimming on it, and you can see the blue and the red, and you can see the pyramids on her. It makes diamonds. You can see the pyramids on her sleeves. It's very see through and transparent. Um, but if you look at like Babylonian priests from back then, I don't think I took a picture of it, but I looked online to see what it would look like, and you can kind of see something similar. So we'll just zoom in on this one, but you can kind of see that in this picture. Something slightly similar to what she looks like, and it has that blue and that red. So yeah, I said Cool Tune Q doesn't bring up any recognized historical artifacts, and that's when I was like, let's kind of fix this. So it said cuneiform script because its name is Q, and then I'm like, in my head for some reason cuneiform and Q just kind of it just ringed in my ear, and I was like, you know what? There's something here. So they're wedge shaped, repeating angular marks pressed into clay. Distinct color palettes, vibrant lapis lazuli blues. So you do have that lapis lazuli blue on her, and then deep golds and yellows and cream colored bricks, like the famous Ishtar Gate. And I'm like, okay, specific iconography, lions, bulls, and dragons, tightly curled manes, and fur patterns. Layered fringed garments, statues, and reliefs usually feature figures in heavily tiered spiraled skirts or robes with elaborate repeating geometric borders. Yeah, because I'm like, you know what? I think there's something here, right? Like there's some kind of like connection. So whoever was designing the concept for the Cool Tunes made Cool Tune Q Babylonian. So then I'm like, you know what? Maybe Cool Tune Clip is okay. So Cool Tune Q is level 3. So I will, and then Clip is level 2, and it's dark. So um, Q is fairy and light. So that lets you know it's kind of like divine, but also inspirational and bright and like showing a lot. And that's kind of what Babylonia was about, right? Babylon was about very transparent. Like, this is who we are, this is what we believe, and this is what we know. And then I was like, okay, so Clip is before that. So there was a people before the Babylons. So it was like right after the Stone Age, and that makes sense because Clip is rock and roll. So you get this rock and roll vibe, right? Like stones and earth, and it's very primal and instinct driven, and it's very like a caveman almost. So you got this caveman idea, and they were first experimenting with wheels and stones, and that's kind of what you get because you notice a lot of wheel iconography in these cards. Um, so yeah, with the Q, it has a lot to do with Babylon, the goddess or the Scarlet Woman in Thelemic. When you look at the underlying structures between Q as a signal or prompt or a sequence, line Q, and Babylon run deep through symbolism and language and esoteric systems. Here is where those threads cross. Phonetics and the letter Q. In esoteric typography and Kabbalah, spelling matters immensely. The letter Q, Kaf, Q, is phonetically just the letter Q in the Hebrew alphabet, the letter Kaf. So that's already one way we can learn. The back of the head. Cough literally means the back of the head, the region of the brain associated with subconscious processing, illusions, and automatic cues that drive our biology. The illusions and the moon. So remember in Ars Goetia, in the three magical books of Solomon, silver is the metal of the moon. Copper is the metal of Venus. The illusion and the moon. Kaf is attributed to the moon tarot card. This ties directly to Babylon, who represents the ultimate feminine generative power, the tides of the subconscious, and the intoxicating illusory nature of the material world, the Whore of Babylon archetype. And we know Babylon is red, so we see that red is in Q. Q has a lot of red stuff on her, and she also has that blue, which is water. So blue is represented by the color water, element water, right? Blue. Um, the concept of the prompt or the signal, the cue. If you view a cue as a catalyst that triggers an action, the universal catalyst, in Thelema, Babylon is the great mother, Binah, on the tree of life, the vast ocean of formless potential waiting for a spark. She receives the seed or the will, chaos, and gives it physical manifestation. The gateway. A queue is literal gateway to a sequence. Similarly, Babylon acts as the gateway to the supernal realm to cross the abyss, and Adapt must pour every drop of their personality into her golden cup, triggering a spiritual transformation. And you notice her headdress, Q's headdress, looks kind of like a cup, and it's very see-through and transparent. So it's kind of saying like she's embodying that energy, right? So I'm like, okay, so each of these cool tune archetypes represent a different time. So they have this steampunk look. So steampunk is all about Victorian clothes and making it have this edge to it, a mechanical edge to it, whether it be with gears or feathers or just something rustic. And I think that they just took it in a different direction and made it really fun. So they went even further back in time. So imagine a Babylonian priestess. What would she wear if she was in modern times, and how would she wear it? She would wear her traditional garbs, but it would be souped up with metal and different see-through transparent fabrics. And it just really clicks, you know? The thread of the cue, the sequence, the latest of manifestations. There's a crazy chick outside. She's she's like screaming out there. I wonder if she can hear me. Because Babylon represents the Great Mother, the matrix or matter, she is the framework through which all souls are woven into reality and eventually return. She holds the line or the sequence of generation, the cycles of souls. And her aspects as the Earth Mother, she is the womb where all things are begotten and the rest where they return, a perfect conscious cycle or cue of existence. So I think what's important to know is that all civilizations have this very beautiful artistic interpretation of how God works. So when you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, you look for your higher power. You look for that thing that is up there in your heart, in your mind, that is going to guide you and lead you to make the right decisions and do the good thing, right? Because you don't want to do the bad thing. You want to do the good thing. And so this is what the ancients used to look for too. They used to look for what was the right thing to do. So a lot of conspiracy theorists, they just make everything very demonic, and that's okay because there's a light and there's a dark to it. If we notice Q as being this light fairy entity, so it's like this angelic light, But you also see Clip, which is dark. So it's like this dark age, right? So this dark age where they're just first coming out of the Stone Age. That's darkness, right? Because it's like, oh my God. And then they start learning how to use all those clays and bricks and coppers and metals, and they become into this golden age. And then from there, if you notice the other characters like Rotary, oh no, Rico, she's a level 3, so it lets you know that they're in the same time period as the other level 3s, and then the 2 is the time period before, so they're just going by time periods. um, and 2 brings into the 3, right? So we already figured out the colors, the headdresses, horns of power, Babylonian history. The most defining feature of Babylonian deity or high priest acting as a deity was the horn tiara or cap. These were multi-layered conical headpieces adorned with multiple pairs of bull horns, symbolizing supreme divinity, authority, and fertility. The Babylon parallel in modern esoteric imagery, Babylon is frequently depicted wearing a crown or headdress that mirrors this horned or tiered structure. Astrological sign of Leo, riding the beast and the moon. So there's a girl named Ishtar or Inanna, and she has a lion, a pet lion. I'm telling you, on Skid Row, people are fucking crazy. It's annoying. I can't wait for the Olympics to clean everybody up. What is that thing called again? Hunter virus. They're gonna hunt them out of here. The garments, tiered ruffles and flounces. Babylonian history. High status figures and temple priestesses in Babylon wore the kuanix, a garment made of tufted fabric or tiered fringe layers that wrapped around the body. This gave the outfit a distinct, heavily textured rib look. Anyways, the chalice, the ritual stance, the Babylonian parallel. So we're gonna skip over through Q because now we kind of got this idea of the steampunk aesthetic. So essentially, Bronze Age steampunk or ziggurat punk. I love that. I was like, that's so smart. Yeah, you got the top hats. So it says when you frame it that way, the design choices for Q make perfect sense. Instead of brass gears, top hats, and clockwork driven by coal, you are looking at technology powered by the elements, sacred geometry, and early metallurgy. Cool, right? Bitch, shut up. Get out of here. The ponytails as bull horns. In ancient Babylon, the horn crown was the ultimate symbol of divinity and cosmic power. Let's see the metallurgy. We're gonna go through this because next we have to do clip. The third Sephira. So that's the funny part is the number 3 in esoteric philosophy, specifically within Kabbalah and the Thelemic system from which Babylon originates. The number 3 is her absolute foundational number. She is inextricably linked to it structurally, geometrically, and archetypally. So basically, Q is a level 3 monster, and Babylon is associated with the number 3. The third Sephira, Binah, the Great Mother. The third sphere is Binah, which translates to understanding. All right, so we're going to go through that. The City of Pyramids, the Triads of Fate and Time, bringing it back to the Q. Designing her as a level 3 with pyramids. The ziggurat connection, the power of trio. So I'm trying to find clip. Kultun clip at level 2 takes you directly into the deep history of human civilization, and it said the Ubaid period, which evolved into the early Sumerian civilization. The power of 2, Chokma, is the sphere of pure, unrestricted energy, chaos, and the primal flash of light. It is the spark before it is captured into a form. And Clip is a thunder type or electric type monster, and it's dark, right? So the rock and roll connection, making Clip a level 2 monster who is loud, primal, and less refined, matches this perfectly. But I also asked, what does Clip have in common with the Ubad? So this was 6,500 to 3,800 BCE. That makes sense, right? Because, life. The era of raw, formless energy that directly precedes the structured empires of Mesopotamia. If Q represents the mathematical structure of civilization, Clip embodies the Ubad through several key thematic parallels. The raw, dark foundation, dark attribute. Historically, the Ubad culture is considered the foundation upon which all Mesopotamian civilization was built, originating from the marshy, untamed delta of southern Iraq. Mathematically and mechanically, Clip is a dark attribute monster. She represents that primordial, hidden undercurrent, the raw material out of which Q's structured geometric pyramid empire eventually emerges. Primal, the explosive energy. The unrefined catalyst. Okay, the Ubad period didn't have the grand rigid cues or systems of Babylon. It was defined by sudden shifts and nomadic foundations. When you have clip in your hand, you can summon it and synchro summon. The turn zero disruption. Clip relies on a chaotic quick effect that allows her to suddenly jump out of your hand during your opponent's main phase to force an immediate synchro summon. What I like about this is that the designers of the Yu-Gi-Oh game, like the card creators, they took something like they took an archetype, right? So steampunk and music and genre, and they interpreted it through music and history. And that's so interesting because it really matches. Like that's like when everything, if you were to make an album right now, which I want to do, and you look at the history of the world and you translate it this way and you make a song out of it or like a movement, you get a lot from it. Like, okay, in the Ubaid, before Sumeria, pre Sumeria, whatever it's called, like they're barely getting everything together. All the basic materials and foundations that could be like your drums or your percussions or something that makes noise that's easy to make noise with. And then you advance into more advanced instruments and different technological ways to record your music and being able to put it all together and make a song, right? Um, Clip functions exactly like the Ubaid era itself. She is unrefined, chaotic, and loud precursor whose sudden appearance sets the necessary stage for Q to establish order. God, that bitch is so annoying. She must be on drugs. You hear it? Oh, God, get the hell out of here. Like Agaris, get her out of here. The literal distorted crunch. If Q is the smooth calculated master track, clip is a literal audio distortion. Her name means she is operating at a volume so loud and primal that it breaks the system. That clipping is the very definition of raw, unrefined rock and roll or metal sound. Um, so I had, if clip is rock and roll, do we see Ubad using rocks and wheels? That is an incredible, clever way to look at it, connecting the rock of rock and roll to the actual stones, tools, and technology of the Bide period bridges the archetype's aesthetic with genuine archaeological history perfectly. And if you look at rock and roll, it kind of set up this new wave of music. It created like techno and everything else because you had the, like, let's say Elvis, right? We're gonna say he's the king of rock and roll. So he comes out with rock, he starts playing music, it gets people dancing, it gets people jumping, and then a whole bunch of bands join in, and it starts this new movement, right? And it's not like, you can say classical music is great, but this is what really kind of, it took that and it made it into something new. The literal rock, the Stone Age. The Ubaid culture existed right at the end of the Stone Age, the Neolithic, and the transition into the Copper Age. Because Mesopotamia was a massive river valley made of mud and clay, actual stone was incredibly rare and valuable. To get rocks for heavy tools, they had to trade with distant mountainous cultures or bake clay at extreme temperatures until it was hard as stone. If Clip represents rock and roll in a less refined way, she perfectly mirrors this tough, gritty, heavy handed era where humanity was mastering raw, hard elements for the first time. The invention of the wheel, the potter's wheel. They didn't use it for chariots or wagons yet. They invented the potter's wheel to mass produce ceramics. This spinning disc allowed them to shape clay faster and more aggressively than before. Um, anyway, so we're going to go on to Kultun Rico. What does her name mean? And all these other things. So with her, I was like, okay, what kind of era would she be? Rico is level 3 fire fiend and destroys a speller trap if used as a synchro material. And I'm like, what civilization did that? The Assyrian Empire and the fall of the Nineveh, the fire that preserved the records. So the library of Ashurbanipal. The Assyrians built the ancient world's most massive library in their capital city. So Rico's recording things, right? She's a record. Um, and that's what they did. They recorded stuff. Nineveh, filling it out with tens of thousands of cuneiform clay tablets, including the Epic of Gilgamesh. They kept meticulous records of everything. The burning of the library, 612 BCE, when a coalition of Babylonians and Medes invaded and destroyed Nineveh, they set the entire royal palace on fire. The invaders intended to wipe the Assyrians and their history off the map. The irony of the fire, because cuneiform tablets were made of raw, sun-dried mud, the massive fire actually baked, vitrified, and hardened the clay into permanent ceramic bricks. If Nineveh hadn't burned to the ground, the tablets would have dissolved into dust centuries ago. The fire that destroyed the civilization is the exact reason their records survived to modern era. So that's pretty cool, right? So I can go into it more. I'll figure it out later. Like who could mix be, right? So if they're level 3, we're gonna look at that third generation. If it's level 2, we're gonna look at the second generation. And I'm looking at the cool tune computer dude. I think he's supposed to be like God or something, and or Lucifer, right? Because Lucifer is made of instruments and like jewels, and he's very bright and shining. So I'm like, okay, this is has this like religious aspect to it, and I like that. But you can see it as a fiend for Rico because, like, um, back then we see them as angels, but we also see them as demons, and we have all these different ideas of what they could be, right? Like people make fun of Baal or Baal and stuff like that, and they say that he would eat children or something. Um, let's see. So we have Rico. She's pretty cool. She's fire. She destroys a spell or trap. And what did they do? They burned down that, those clay tablets, but it ended up making it harder. So yeah, you can see the connection and where they're pulling from their inspiration and how they wanted to play the game. I think also another thing is that Inanna used to collect tablets from different men, from gods, from one particular god. Yeah. Um, but she ended up taking them all. She took the ship and she went off into a distant land. Um, so yeah, there's just some kind of stories that can be tied into this. So I'm like, okay, I see where it's going. The reason I use Cool Tunes is because when I was winning tournaments, I kept winning Cool Tune cards, and I still am. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna build a Cool Tune deck, and I'm just gonna use them to my best ability. I was playing Master Duel, and every time I played the Cool Tunes, everybody just jumped off. They would quit pretty quickly, and I'm like, I don't even know how to play with them. Don't worry. But then there was one battle, and I won that pretty good. So I'm just learning how they work. I'm learning how their style is and what's going on, and they're pretty fun. So yeah, thank you for watching, and catch you guys later. Bye.